Buckle up, because this is a crazy one. So Leah gets up here and has a little Risa Tisa who the fuck did I marry moment, but this time is who the fuck did I go on a date with. So Leah says that she was at Ruth Chris with her friends when she met a dude who was 10 years older than her because one of his friends knew one of her friends. After Ruth Chris, they go to a hookah lounge and then she gives the dude her number. They go on a first date. She says it was cool, but he came across as super insecure because he was always boasting and bragging and talking shit about everybody. But she says that he was really nice to her and he always gave her lots of compliments, so she didn't really think much of it. They go on a second date the day before she makes her little "who the hell did I go on a date with" video. She said the first red flag was that she hated his outfit because he was wearing an all red sweatsuit with a red hat. The red flag was that he told her it would take him 40 minutes to get to her house, but it took him 2 hours to get there. And then when he finally got there, he called her with an attitude asking why she wasn't already waiting downstairs. So she comes downstairs, she gets in the car, they're driving, and then all of a sudden he tells her that he wants them to get matching sweatsuits. She laughs and she says, okay, we could be cute and corny, and that apparently pisses him off. But they move on. Leah ends up calling one of her best friends while they're on the way to wherever they're going because it's her best friend's birthday and he had sent his outfit in the group chat and she wanted to tell him that she liked his outfit. Best friend says thank you. He asks where she's going, says that she looks nice too, and she says that she's going on a date. So the best friend asks who she's with and what they're wearing because apparently some places in DC won't let you in based on your outfit. And she goes on to say, oh, he's just wearing a sweatsuit, and that apparently pissed him off too because then he started to mean mug her. She eventually gets off the phone with the best friend, and then the dude starts going off like, oh, you're talking about I'm just wearing a sweatsuit, but it's a $1,500 Versace sweatsuit. And then he goes on to ask what the best friend was wearing since she was hyping the best friend up so much. She goes on to tell him what the best friend had on, and that apparently pissed him off too. So they're still driving. She eventually asks him if there's any steakhouses that they can go to because she doesn't know the area. So the dude says, yeah, they meet up with one of his homeboys. They go to a place to eat, and then the homeboy that they met up with ends up talking to a girl that they met on the elevator. So they're all hanging out, and then the dude that Leah's with all of a sudden asks his homeboy and the girl from the elevator if they think it's corny for couples to wear matching sweatsuits. And they both say, yeah, not knowing that he was wanting him and Leah to get some. Upset by that, and then all of a sudden he asks Leah and the girl from the elevator if they feel as though they can be molded by a partner, and they both say no. So they go back and forth about that, and then all of a sudden he agrees with them that you shouldn't be molded by a partner, and then he tries to give Leah a high five, but she was thrown off by the conversation, so she didn't give him one, which upset him, and he ends up telling her that she keeps trying him. So the bartender that had been serving them gave them all her number, saying that she gets deals on the low and she could put them on. So Leah ends up telling the dude that she's with to Apple Pay the bartender, I'm guessing a tip, to make sure that she's taken care of, and the dude goes off on Leah telling her that she's worried about the wrong shit. So Leah then asked the bartender if she could see the bill because she wanted to show old boy that the bartender had actually marked a bunch of stuff off of their tab, and he goes off saying that, oh, why are you worried about it? Why do you want to see the bill? And if the men are paying, then the girls should be the ones tipping anyways. And Leah ends up telling him that she's not paying anything out on a date. I'm guessing everything gets paid, and then Leah ends up telling them that she wants to go smoke hookah. So the dude says all right, but then he ends up taking them to a place that doesn't have hookah, and then he doesn't buy a bottle because he says they're not going to be there for long, so they're all just sitting there looking at each other. The dude ends up asking Leah if she's okay, and she's like, yeah, but I told you I didn't want to come here and that I wanted hookah, and then he ends up going the fuck off, and he starts screaming and yelling in her face inside of the establishment. He's screaming and yelling and cussing in her face, so she puts her hands up like, oh, excuse me, and so then he sucks his teeth and goes and sits in a chair across from her. So Leah ends up texting the group chat with her friends because one of her homeboys was actually inside the same place as them, telling him that she would be better off going home with him because her date was tripping. Leah ends up convincing herself that she's just being dramatic, and she ends up staying. And at that point, the girl from the elevator had already left, but then the homeboy that the dude was with had another girl pull up. And so that girl approaches Leah and lets her know that they're going to go get hookah like she wanted. So they get in the car to leave, and that's when Leah and the dude start going back and forth about the fact that he started yelling and cussing at her inside of the place. And at that same time, one of the dude's homegirls ended up calling him saying that she wanted to meet up with them too, and then he starts going back and forth with her on the phone. And then all of a sudden he flips the script and starts apologizing, saying, oh, I'm sorry, it's not your fault, I'm in a bad mood. One of my other homeboys said something that made me mad earlier, blah, 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 blah. So they eventually get to the hookah lounge, and Leah's having fun with the dude's homeboys and homegirls because the dude actually ended up dipping off for a little bit. He comes back a while later, but at that point Leah's ready to go home, so they get in the car, but then Leah realizes that he's drunk, so she doesn't want him to drive. But he starts getting upset, so at that point she feels like it's not worth the back and forth. So he starts driving, but then he goes from saying that he'll drive her home to saying, oh, well, you can come back to my place and we can cuddle on the couch and we can go to sleep. And Leah's like, no, I'd rather go home. And, if you don't feel like driving me, because she was an hour away from her house at that point, you can just send me an Uber to pick me up and, it's no big deal. And that pisses him off, so he starts going off saying, oh, well, I'll just hurry up and get you home since you don't want to hang. And then he calls his sister to talk shit about Leah while Leah's in the car. So he's on the phone with the sister and he's getting mad. So then he tells his sister to send Leah an Uber because he wants her the F out of his car. And so then Leah's like, well, you have to stop the car and let me out in order for your sister to send me an Uber. But he's not stopping the car. He's actually speeding up. He hits 120 miles an hour, which is what y'all saw at the beginning. and he's just running through lights. He's running through lights. So Leah's telling him to stop, and the sister's telling him to stop, but Leah said that the sister sounded like she was drunk too, so the sister was kind of laughing and joking about it, saying, oh, you're scaring that girl, you need to stop, you need to slow down. But Leah's like, no, you really need to slow down, like you're gonna kill us. He's yelling, he's speeding, and now he's saying that he's on the way to the sister's house, and the sister can just take Leah home. So he eventually gets on the highway. He's still going 120 miles an hour. He's going off on Leah saying, I really liked you and I don't know why you're acting like that. And Leah's telling him that he's the one that's tripping and needs to calm down. And then he flips again, going from, oh, I really liked you to, oh, I ain't tripping off no bitch and I ain't chasing no bitch. I only chase the money. And the only reason I dipped out at the hookah lounge was because my ex was there and she's thick and you're too skinny and just blah, blah, blah. While speeding down the road, another car ends up flashing their headlights at him, and so he pulls his pew-pew out of the door and sits it on his lap. So he eventually gets off the exit. He pulls up to where the sister said she was at, but she's not there. It's an empty parking lot, and she says that she's 2 minutes away, and she's actually walking. The sister eventually gets there and she gets in the car, and now her and the sister are lapped up because it's a two-seater vehicle. So either Leah's sitting in the sister's lap or the sister's sitting in Leah's lap. Sister tells Leah a name of one of the stores in the shopping center so Leah can order an Uber to the location, but nobody's accepting the ride right away because it's an hour ride at 4 o'clock in the morning. A driver finally accepts it, but they're about 25 minutes away. The dude gets mad again. He says he's not waiting that long. He starts speeding off while the car door is still open and Leah and the sister are lapped up. So when he speeds off, the car door slams shut and Leah's hair gets stuck in the door, so now the sister's trying to open the door while the car's moving so Leah can get her hair unstuck. So the dude's going off saying he's not waiting that long and they're just gonna go switch cars so the sister and Leah don't have to sit in each other's lap and they'll just drop her off. So they pull up into the garage of the dude's house and the dude's going back and forth between trying to apologize to Leah and cussing her out. So Leah's asking the sister what's the house number so she can order an Uber, but the sister's like, oh, don't worry about it, I'm about to drop you off at home. At that point, Leah just takes off running up the street so she can see house numbers and street signs as she finally requests her Uber. But her phone's at 5% and the Uber's 25 minutes away, so she texts one of her best friends and lets him know that if she doesn't text him within 25 minutes, let him know that she's in an Uber, she needs him to come to so-and-so address and come and get her. The friend decides not to wait. He leaves immediately to come and get her, and while she's waiting for either her friend or the Uber to get her, the dude starts blowing up her phone. She doesn't answer. She's standing in front of a house that has a ring camera just in case he comes to look for her, so whatever happens can be caught on camera. The Uber gets to her first. When she gets in the car, the friend lets her know that he's almost there, so she tells the Uber to just take her to her friend. The friend gets her, and I'm guessing the friend takes her home. She then makes an updated video saying that the dude saw her video, he had called her, he had left a voicemail that she says she didn't listen to, and then he had texted her calling her a clout chasing B-word. She said he threatened her by saying that he's got homeboys in Baltimore where she's at. She says that she's not worried about it because she thinks it's ridiculous that he would call a homeboy and be like, oh, I took a girl out in your city and she didn't want to stay with me. And then she made a story time about how I started tweaking, so I need you to go hurt her. But people in the comment section were like, girl, he might not tell them that, or some of his friends just might have the same mentality as him. Some of them are just willing to do it for money. She doesn't think they'd be willing to do that, so she's not worried about it, and she says that she lives in a secure building. Says the only reason he's not blocked is because she knew he would start threatening her and she wanted to hear what he had to say. Says that people criticize her for allowing him to pick her up, but says that she lives a princess life and just letting the dudes that date her pick her up is just what she does. Somebody in the comments was like, girl, the princess life, yeah, I guess so, because you almost got kidnapped by Bowser. The people told her she should have jumped out, and she said that she's not tucking and rolling at 120 miles an hour. I feel you on that. She also said that people claim she was just pressed to be around a dude with money, and she said that people are bold to assume that he had money, and that she's never gave, she just needs to be around money, and that she actually just did it for the plot and didn't have anything better to do. That's
All of this could have been avoided had she listened from the get-go. Literally. Because how would you think this man is mean to everybody but nicer to me to be the great candidate for you? Because after that, it literally just went from bad to worse and worse and the worst and the worst. And you, for some reason, we are supposed to stand by by you when something should happen to you. I really don't have time for this anymore. I think from 2026, I'm clocking out of a lot of women. I've clocked out in interracial relationships where I don't get involved with black women who are with white men or any other race of men. I think I'm going to add certain of you in that category. Because what is this? What is this? It feels like people just want to live their lives and get surprised when things happen the way that they do happen.